All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Monday morning productivity call. I'm your host, Jason Will, joined by Blake Ray, Anissa, and Alex. How are y'all doing this morning?
Good.
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 Good. All right. So I'm going to give you secret sauce this morning. Now, I've already given it to you, but I've checked some Facebook pages and we still need some work. Okay. So I want to maybe dig a little deeper, maybe clarify a couple things real quick and just make sure we're all on the same page. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, before I do that, I've got some notes here I wanted to kind of go over. And it's kind of like start your week, how to start your week prep. And I think we all need to, me included, need to recognize that the week needs to start Sunday evening. So if you got up this morning, you got into your home office, you got into the office, you start your work at a coffee shop, wherever you do, start to do your deep work for the week. If the way you start is by planning, then we're doing it wrong. Okay. So this is something that real estate agents I know could I know because I used to do it, right? I would sit down, like my time block would start with me sitting down thinking about, okay, what am I going to do today? Who am I going to call? Like my prospecting time block would be like, all right, who am I going to call? So this was before I started using a database, before I started using a system, a CRM system. But it's like, I know I need to talk to somebody. They say real estate's all about conversations. Who am I going to talk to? I need to come up with some people. I need to find some people to talk to. Okay. So in the process of doing all that, we just waste a lot of time. Okay. And it's the most valuable resource that we have. All right. So we need to make sure we're managing it effectively. So what we would need to do potentially is set a calendar reminder for ourselves that sometime on Sunday evening, when the dust from the weekend settles, we start to figure out what we need to do. Now, I'm going to sidestep over this just for 1 second and go to the talking point around the specialization. Okay. Because if you know what you want to specialize in, or if you're like me and you already have figured that out, it makes this weekly planning so much more effective, so much more strategic, so much easier. It just takes the guesswork out of it. Okay. So, what I'm talking about here is something simple like me going to your Facebook pages and scrolling down on the last few weeks, well, let's say 2 weeks of posts. Okay. And see if I can find a common denominator that supports your specialization. All right. In case you need some motivation to identify this specialization, let me clue you in on this little factoid here that specializing specializing removes selling. Specializing removes selling. So the goal here is to become such a specialist in one particular area of expertise that you become so well known for that specific area of expertise that you're just the go-to person for that. All right. So one exercise you could do is just go to my Facebook page at Jason Will Sell and just scroll down the last couple weeks of my content and see if you can identify my specialization. All right. Then you go back to your Facebook page and go, shit, I need to do something here.
Shit,
And
dog.
yeah, I need to get a bulldog. I need to go camping.
Yeah.
I need to start drinking bourbon. You know, let's just pause right here and just make sure we're not skipping over this too much. Okay. So Blake, when if I go to your Facebook page, when was your last Facebook post that you actually made?
Last week.
Last week.
Yeah, I wrote a description about the top agents.
All right, let me go check that out real quick. I went to Anissa's page. I got lost in her page because I couldn't identify a specialization, but
Well,
but the content is really good. So I just got sucked in a little bit.
Vanessa also, been full-time wedding photographer for 5 years. So it's hard, to transition without, not posting anything about the weddings.
Yeah. So and that's fine, right? Because I have other things that I'm into as well. I've got some other little side hustles I'm
Like
working on as
like
well.
outfits for the lake
Yeah,
people.
exactly. So I mean, you guys don't have any,
It's
there's no guesswork about what I'm doing, right?
Mhm.
It's just it's there. It's loud and it's proud. Okay. So we're gonna go back to the specialization, but I want to just real quick wrap up the Sunday prep. But I just wanted to infuse that because you're like, you know, if you knew one thing, if you had what is referred to as singularity of focus on the specialization you're trying to establish, then getting your week all planned out is so much easier when you have one thing you're focused on. Okay. So Sunday evening prep, let's say that starts around 6:30, 7 o'clock Sunday evening, maybe 5 o'clock. You want to get it done before the Sunday shows start, because I don't know if you guys noticed that 1923 season 2 started last night and episode 2 of the White Lotus was last night. So I want to get all my stuff done so I can dive into those shows. But what we want to do, the first thing we want to do is review the prior week. And here's some things we can focus on in our review of the prior week. Wins with our time, times when we wasted our time, and then like what needs to be carried over from the week before, like what didn't get done. All right. So what are we carrying over from the week before? The next thing we can do is just identify top priorities for the week ahead. Like what are your 3 must-dos you need to get accomplished this week? 3 must-dos. So I gave you an example of one of mine. Like I'm ahead of time planning and preparing for a lake content project. Okay. So last week I had a project to get done. This week I've got a project already selected. I'm going to be shining a light on a specific community on Smith Lake, and I'm doing that in conjunction with a for sale by owner. Okay, so I've identified a for sale by owner in this community. I reached out to him, said, "Hey, I'm going to be in here marketing this community. Do you want me to, you know, set aside a little time to market your listing in that community?" Oh, sure. So here we've got a potential relationship starting. All right, so we've been doing a lot of texting back and forth. Anything not on Zillow that I need to know? Anything important you can tell me? Anything really important you want me to focus on or mention in my video? So maybe that gets some of y'all's creative juices flowing. All right, let's see. What else do I have on my list for this week? All right, I'm doing my green screen videos. I've got 3 green screen videos selected that I need to do, and 1 big lake project. Now, those big projects, the long form content is something I can cut into short form content. Okay. So I've got my week planned out in that regard in terms of content creation, but I've got my week planned out in terms of I've already got a showing appointment on the books for this week. And so I'm coordinating both on market and off market opportunities for this buyer that's coming in from out of town. A buyer, I might add, that I generated from YouTube, max price point 800,000. Generate a free lead from YouTube, 800,000 max. Okay, looking on the lake, 600 to 800,000. Are there any deadlines that are approaching this week that I need to meet? All right, so I've got closing this week. I've got things I need to get scheduled around that. Any meetings that I can schedule that will move the needle. All right, so one of the big things we've been focused on these calls are what's your daily focus or your daily commitment and or weekly commitment. So Blake wants to get how many people to his preferred lenders a day or a week? 2 a week. Okay. It's all about keeping it simple. So I'm focused on appointments and getting in front of people. Okay. So I know I need to try my damnedest to schedule an appointment every single day. And if I'm unable to accomplish that goal, then I'm like, all right, well, what can I do to schedule an appointment? Like, I need to put myself in the crosshairs or, the intersection of something that will allow me to get in front of somebody. What could that be? And I tell you, like, for sale by owners, great place to start as an example. Number 3, time block. What the hell does time block even mean? Most people don't even know what the hell that means. And I heard it described another way, and I thought it was really beneficial to the layperson, the new agent or even the veteran agent who's, never been exposed to this exercise of time blocking. And that's pre-schedule. So you're just pre-scheduling things. All right. Are you pre-scheduling time to connect with people on the phone? Now, if you are or have any paralysis by the analysis of, cold calling, talking to strangers, trying to sell yourself over the phone, I just want to clear something up for you. Like, I would Google FSBO City. So after we got this call, it's highly likely that I will Google Smith Lake FSBO. And I'll see if there's any new FSBOs that pop up, and I'll reach out with them via text. Hey, I create marketing videos for sale by owners. Would you like for me to create one for you for free? And then it's Jason Will, Blueprint Realty Company. Bam. Now, if I get a objection from that, recently I got an objection from that. No, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the offer, but no thanks. And I replied, I was like, thank you so much for the reply. Food for thought. There's no such thing as bad free marketing. It was something to that effect. And the guy thought about it for a minute and replied back a little while later and goes, you know what? You're right. I mean, like, what do I have to lose? And I'm like, nothing. It's not going to cost you anything, nothing to sign, no obligation. I'm just going to help expose your property to more people. And in the process, I'm going to get some exposure out of it. Make sense? Great. Let's get it on the calendar. Any questions about that? So easy. Like, we start to realize, hey, we're overcomplicating this. Now, I just want to realize or just mention this, that, or make sure you guys notice that I'm going like Smith Lake FSBO in the vein of the specialization. What are you going for? What area of the market are you trying to corner? All right. Now, if I need some income just to come in, because I'm telling you, having the time and, let's just say, the luxury of focusing on a specialization, a lot of the times is just reserved for agents who aren't like totally freaking out about their bills. Okay. So if I just needed to get some money, and some of this too is identifying your specialization, you do it by the act of doing, not the act of really thinking about it. So, like, maybe I want to get with Blake and figure out, like, all right, well, where are some D.R. Horton folks, like community salespeople, D.R. Horton salespeople that I need to connect with that could probably help me sell a D.R. Horton house, or would love to have my support for things like marketing open houses, things like that. Right? All right. So time block for deep work. What do you guys think would be an example of deep work in real estate? And what I'm talking about here is an offensive play that you can run or execute that's really going to move the needle.
Solve problems for seller or buyer.
That's a good one. How would I do that?
Asking the right questions.
How could I preemptively solve problems so that I gain some recognition as somebody who is a problem solver in real estate?
Well, you put the information out there.
That's right. So I need to identify problems. So I've heard this said, a few times in my real estate career that any question you get asked more than once, you should create some content around it. All right. Any question you get asked more than once, you should create some content around it. What else? Blake, did you have something? It seems like you were just itching to say something.
No, I'm just gonna let them answer it. I mean, that was gonna be video. Was gonna be what I was saying.
Okay. Absolutely. Video, graphics, calling, reaching out to your sphere of influence and past clients, just going through people and your
Just
phone.
done.
Listen, you guys know there's agents out here in the agent sphere, okay, that don't have a CRM, that don't even use an Excel spreadsheet, that really don't do any social media marketing, but they're like this. They've got the gift of gab. They're just constantly on their phones, constantly texting their girlfriends, constantly meeting up with people for lunch and coffee or getting their nails done. They're just so super social. They sell the absolute shit out of real estate.
Well, I think just to also micro it down, just knowing 12 people, right? 12 people that spread out over a month that you could talk to once a week. Those people will return the favor, right? Like, I think we think too far in this world. I don't know if you can see my hands, but
I can see it.
yeah, like we think in the
Very
whole world.
dramatic. Very
Yeah,
dramatic.
we think 100. I can't, like, I'm just going to use Alex as an example because he has no clue what I'm saying. We think like, oh, I need 1 million people to be successful, and really you don't, right? You just need 12 people. 12 people, one deal a month. That one deal a month can really push you into 2 deals a month, right? Can push you into 3 deals.
Yeah, I would say this too. If you were just going to send somebody an email once or twice a month, you would need about 300 people.
Mm.
Okay. If you're really going to engage with these people, because you got to think about this, every person in that 12-person database probably knows 10 to 12 people. It's probably safe. That's probably a safe bet. So you can turn 12 people into 100 people pretty easily by just staying in touch and staying in front of them and being a resource, somebody who is helpful. All right. It could be something as simple as texting somebody something. Like if you know their favorite musical act is the Dave Matthews Band and the Dave Matthews Band is coming to town, you'd be like, oh, I just want to make sure you saw this. Or it's their favorite comedian or whatever it is. Or man, I just started this new show on Netflix. Or they're into podcasting. They're into true crime podcasts. You're like, oh my gosh, have you listened to this series? It's amazing. That's super helpful, right? Before I left my closing last week, I was talking to like the buyer. I'm telling you, like you guys, like the best buyer ever. 23 years old, super chill, excellent credit score, got great job, money in the bank. I mean, reminds me a lot of me at 23. But at the end of the closing, he was like, he just there was this finality to it. He was like, gosh, this has been great. Like we had a good time together. Some funny stuff happened during the transaction. We were joking about it at the closing table. And he was just like, man, I'm really, stoked to be closing on my first house at 23, but I'm sorry this is ending. And I said, well, having a get together, Memorial Weekend, do you guys like to float in the lake and drink a couple beers and eat some barbecue? Oh, hell yes. Okay, great. We'll be on the lookout for that invitation coming soon. So this ain't over. We just getting started. All right. Any light bulbs going off there? Okay, don't worry about it. We're going to get there. All right. So basically what we're doing here is we're planning the day before it starts. All right. So that is not a reality that is going to be available to us all the time, but we just need to prioritize it. Prioritize planning the day before it starts. So we know when we go into our home office, we go into the coffee shop, we go into the brick and mortar office, we know what we're going to get done there. As I've said, I've got green screen videos I want to get done today. All right. I've got specific things I want to get done today. With the kind of pinnacle of that goal, we'll be scheduling an appointment with somebody, buyer or seller. And if you don't know where to start, just Google, FSBO plus city, and there's going to be a bunch of people you can talk to right off the bat, in addition to people on your phone. And what I want to tell you is I'm not saying call them and go, hey, did you know I was a real estate agent? Or, hey, do you know anybody that has a real estate need? It's just call them and go, hey, you're on my mind today. Just want to check in, see what's up with you. That's it. Now, if that is a challenge for you, we could potentially have a problem. All right. Now, I want to dive into this specialization thing, and we're going to see if we can get somewhere with this because we need to move the needle here. Right. One thing that I want different about these calls when we talk about productivity and accountability is we don't move on. We don't move on to the next thing until we establish this. Okay. So I want to use Blake Ray as an example. All right. So what we need to do, I think this is a very important kind of piece of the puzzle, is we really want to connect with something inside of us emotionally, psychologically, that motivates us, that kind of gives us energy, that feeds us a little bit, fulfills us in some way. So I think, two things might be true. Blake, you just jump in anytime and correct me if I'm wrong here. But a couple things might be true. Number one, I think Blake probably looks at this and goes, well, I haven't jumped on this specialist bandwagon because I don't have time. I'm running an office. I'm doing all these things. I've got all these irons in the fire. I just don't have time. It's not conducive for me right now to do this. Plus, long term, it may not make a lot of sense. Because long term, maybe Blake Ray doesn't see himself selling real estate long term.
Whoa, that hurts.
Pause. Well, it's not meant to hurt. I'm going somewhere with this. But true or false?
He's talking about my OnlyFans account that I've been trying.
Yeah. There's a whole other area of people on OnlyFans that want to see weird stuff on there.
That's give it a follow.
All right,
so big pictures.
Yeah.
So I think Blake has made comments in the past about how, he's really burnt out on the selling aspect of real estate. Okay, and that happens to some people.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe they found a calling somewhere else in real estate. So, it's like Blake's been in real estate a long time. Some people like Justin Dyer, Mr. Smith Lake at the lake, as soon as he graduated from Alabama, he went to the lake and he was like, I'm going to start doing some shit here on this lake. I'm going to see if I can get some business going. Nobody on the lake that's selling the lake is infusing technology into the lake. So I'm going to build a website. I'm going to get all this content rolling, and I'm going to establish myself as a Smith Lake specialist. So some people, it's like right out of the gate. Some people, it's going to take, might take a decade. Who knows? The point is that it should be a goal, because once you identify this, once you select something and go an inch wide and a mile deep on it, your life changes in an instant, because you are now doing what you love with the people you really like, for people you like. Everything kind of clicks, and it just becomes really easy to go, all right, well, this is what I'm doing today. This is what I want to accomplish this week, because I want to build myself as an expert or a specialist in this area. Otherwise, we need to try as a little community here to figure out what it is. Where's the mental roadblock that keeps us from, at least posting like on our Facebook pages once a day, our Instagram account once a day, our TikTok account once a day? Because we know that's, real estate happens that way. I mean, I just, towards the beginning of this call was talking about a buyer that I'm showing homes to this week that I generated from YouTube between 600,000 and 800,000. So would never have gotten to that place unless I was focused on establishing a specialization. All right. And you see people doing this outside of the real estate industry. I mean, you see restaurants going, hey, like, this is what we're known for. Everything on the menu is pretty damn good. But these couple things or this one thing is what we're really known for. And a lot of people come. So there is a restaurant in Coleman that does these little orange rolls, like cinnamon rolls, but with orange ice, this orange icing on them. They're freaking famous. So lots of people go to this restaurant just for the orange rolls. All right, that gets them in the door. What is your orange roll? That's what we're trying to identify here. All right. So if Blake were to make his specialization real estate agents, like the production of real estate agents, some real estate agents just want to work with or for somebody that makes them feel seen and heard. That's it. That's all they need. Some people want a leader that recognizes them publicly. Some people want a leader that's going to help them sell more real estate. I would look back over Blake Ray's career and say that, you know, there is probably nobody better suited to teach somebody, you know, coming from somebody who has at one time in their career done everything wrong. Right?
Mhm.
You know, I feel like that's what potentially makes me a decent real estate trainer is that just, you know, spent not only the first year, but the first few years just doing everything wrong. And then when you do everything wrong and you start to do things the right way or the way that moves the needle, then you're like, oh shit. Then you kind of start to see like how much you've been overcomplicating it. So one thing we could really do here, like Blake needs to sell real estate to pay his bills. You know, I think one thing that Blake Ray has that lends himself to the specialization in addition to experience is he's got the gift of gab. You can drop him in a room full of strangers and he'll just spark up conversations. He's got endless supply of, you know, information that other people might deem useless. That's very valuable to people. Pop culture, music, sports. I mean, just those three categories alone. I mean, if you're in a room where somebody or a small contingent of people in that room don't relate to that, then you're in the wrong freaking room. All right. So let's pause here. It's 11:35. And let's think about some questions we can ask based on anything we've covered so far. I do want to make this one point. This may be helpful for the next person that speaks, is that when we're talking about a specialization, you need to be able to define it in a phrase, a very short, concise phrase. Smith Lake specialist, new construction specialist, first time homebuyer specialist. And Blake's could be like, could eventually, like, it could be a recruiting specialist. It could be a real estate productivity specialist. But this is like, if he was calling agents the way he called leads and did that for 6 months straight, you know, was calling agents, you know, going to real estate events, taking selfies with agents, figuring out fun things to do with agents and invite them to, you know, whether that's just hanging out the pool at Ross Bridge for a day or whatever it is. Who knows where that would lead?
My problem with that is, before we go too far, is you can put it on Facebook. I don't really give a shit. The industry has become flooded with disingenuousness, right? And that's something that I have a mega problem with, is that I see it all the time, right? Like, I just got a text from somebody that said, hey, Blake, it's me, blah, 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 with blah, blah, blah real estate. My broker was just asking about you. And I said, I didn't know you personally, but we've done a deal. And I'm like, I have no clue who the hell you are. Never spoke to you in my life. And that's kind of the industry we're in right now. Not to make this all a call, because I think everybody's goal is different. That's kind of my hang up with a lot of that. Like, a lot of it has become super disingenuous. I know that there's a level of that comes with, right?
Hold on, because there is a teachable moment there for people that are like the same thing is happening, I think, with your prospects because they don't really know you.
Yeah.
And you're coming on to them pretty strong, like they should know you or they should want to get to know you, and they really don't. So the way to get around that is to serve, don't sell. So if Blake, you call these people and you just take a totally different approach, like super short and sweet. Hey, been following you on Facebook, really digging your vibe. I realize this is not going to sound totally like you, but I just want you to kind of pick up what I'm throwing down here. Is there anything I can do to help you sell more real estate? Hey, did you know we have these calls on Monday? You know, I don't know, something. You lead with value first. What can I help? What can I do to help you? That's what I want to do. I want to be the guy. I want to become known as the guy in Birmingham that helps real estate agents not only sell more real estate, but build fulfilling careers, build wealth. I help real estate agents get out of their own way, stop overcomplicating it, start simplifying it. Whether you want to, become a cold calling, phenom, or whether you want to become a more relationship based agent, whatever your strategy is, if you want to develop a specialization, I'll help you find it. But I'm always just calling you, checking in, texting, and it just starts with the people like maybe you meet at the events and you develop a relationship with them. Like for agents, that would be like people I meet at an open house. Like my goal is, what if we changed the way we look at things and we started to approach people that come to an open house with this goal in mind, to develop rapport, not to sell the house. Now, one of the ways you can develop rapport is by knowing everything there is to know about that house you're holding open. Like, for instance, the open house is not the first time you've seen the house. You've been by ahead of the open house and you've come up with some questions. You notice that the laminate flooring is like bubbling up in some places and you're wondering like, hey, was there a water issue? Like, you're really trying to get to the bottom of things. Like, to keep it super simple, like, why are these people moving? Why are they selling? Something to that effect. Okay. So let's dial it back here. And does anybody else have any questions or want to throw something against the wall and see if it sticks as it relates to a specialization? If you want to identify it, you got to get out there and do it. You got to get out there and try a bunch of things. This week might be all about a discovery process. Might be all about throwing things against the wall to see if they stick. But within, I would say 2 weeks from now, everybody that jumps on these calls, that is consistently on this call, we should be able to look at their social media profiles and be able to tell very, very quickly what it is they want to be known for in real estate. Because make no mistake, real estate is all about notoriety. It's all about attention. It's all about celebrity. It's all about who knows you. And, all that stuff. It's just about being super well known. But it's really hard to be well known for a lot of different things. All right. Now, one of the things I invited some people on this call this morning that I know are specialists, and was hoping to be able to have an opportunity to pick their brain live in front of you and talk about how things maybe have gotten easier for them since really defining what it is they want to be known for. Now, I'm not going to give that up. Those people are out there and the people that are out there that sell a hell of a lot of real estate, I mean, just do this exercise with them. Do this audit of their, their Facebook page and see if you can find a specialization. And if you can't, and they sell a shitload of real estate, you just need to know that they're out there, they're out there doing this all day, every day, just constantly talking to people. We had an agent on this call a few months ago that like walks her dog twice a day. One of the main reasons is because she likes to run into her neighbors, and when she does, she sparks conversations with them that go way deeper than, "Hey, how you doing? Good to see you." I mean, she's stopping, they talking, they're having a 10 or 20-minute conversation on the walk. That's prospecting. All right, but typically you're going to find agents that just focus on one thing. I'm thinking about agents here in the greater Birmingham area, that focus on specific areas, communities, neighborhoods. Even if the subdivision is large enough, it could be a subdivision. And then outside of that, it's like, I'm a military relocation specialist. I'm a senior specialist. That's not for me. I can tell you that right now. Old people and kids, I don't do well with either one of those, even though I'm turning into one myself. But who's your tribe? Who's your people? All right, one thing that just completely baffles me is like agents that are in the LGBTQ community that don't don't try to serve that community. Like they don't want to be out loud and proud in that environment because they think it's going to hurt them. I mean, just think about, is Maria doing enough with the Vietnamese community in Huntsville to blow her business up? If you've got like an ethnicity thing going for you, you go freaking a mile deep on that.
I feel attacked over here.
What is it?
Well, you like it needs to sound like, okay, I need to go deeper into the Russian community, I guess.
Is there a Russian? But I don't know. I mean, is there a Russian community?
I mean,
No.
there's some Russian, Ukraine. There's a mixture of them, I think. Not
Wait,
really
you're not
large, but
from Manisa?
huh?
I thought your accent was from Huntsville.
Oh yeah, very Alabama, right? Roll Tide, y'all.
So what I would do is really, I mean, talk to some of the people so Anissa, how long have you been in the Huntsville, Madison community?
9 years.
9 years. Okay. So you probably met some people that maybe had been there longer than 9 years too. That maybe they've been there 20 years. So this would be a good exercise is to, when we get off this call, make a list of some of these people that that have a Russian, Ukrainian background, that hopefully you have their number in your phone. And you're just going to call them or text them and go, "Hey, I just want to pick your brain on a couple things. When's a good time for us to connect this week?"
Yeah.
And then when you get on the phone with them, you say, like, "Listen, here's my thoughts." Or I wanted to try to, I'm trying to get some clarity on this. Is there a large enough Russian/Ukrainian population in Madison County for me to build a real estate career just by supporting these people? And maybe there is, maybe there isn't. But I can tell you, just by going down that road of discovery, some fruit is going to fall from the tree. One thing that would be a huge win before we get off this call is just to recognize how much we overcomplicate this. I'm looking to, so in addition to for sale by owners, I'm looking at vacation rental owners on the lake. I'm looking at small businesses around the lake. How can I help, small businesses grow their customer base And in doing that, in reaching out to people with offers and, following up with people in that regard, it forms connections, which allows me to be a connector. So, I'll figure out like, oh, that's the person you want to take your boat to. This is the mechanic in town that does the best work for the most reasonable hourly rate. And so when I connect people to that guy, there's gonna be some reciprocity, hopefully, that comes from that. Some paying, I'm paying it forward, and they're gonna be grateful for me, and they're gonna want to, repay me for that generosity of that connection. So just realizing like how much we overcomplicate this. Thoughts. We're getting close to run out of time. So you're on this call, like if you've already been on this call and you've already heard the specialization speech, then between this week and next week, it would be great to see your Facebook pages or your Instagram profiles or whatever your like favorite platform is coming into some sort of shape and focus and clarity in that regard. If I'm at the beach and I love the beach, maybe I'm a condo specialist. Golf course specialist could be anywhere across the state. You can be a specialist in working with investors. But maybe you get on the phone, you Google real estate specializations. And then just make the connection. This is why I like, everybody from lawyers to restaurant owners, they put something out there like, hey, we want to be known for this. Like we have this signature dessert or signature cocktail or signature steak or whatever it is. That really gets people through the door. And then they see that, oh gosh, we do a lot more stuff besides make great steaks. We got good seafood too. The other little thing this might help with is that it just gets you kind of in the mode, in the mindset of, first and foremost, just realizing that by doing this, by getting your real estate license and getting into this business, that you're a business owner. But Anissa, I would challenge you here. If you were a wedding photographer and you wanted to get business referrals to do more weddings, you're not going to get there by not putting yourself out there or talking to people and putting examples of your work on your social media page.
Yeah, the majority of my work now coming from referrals from other vendors. So that's how you get, you got to talk to the people.
So there is no difference in real estate. There's no fundamental difference. It's the same thing. It's just talking to people, meeting people, talking to people, developing relationships. And the best way you can do that is to be valuable to somebody in some way. So what do they need? If you don't have it, do you know somebody that does?
Yeah.
It's all about leverage. All right. So if I've got a buyer that's looking on the lake, if I don't go try to find something off market, I got one house to show this guy this week. Because I've been making connections, working with for sale by owners, now I've got 2 additional houses to add to that list. So now we got 3 properties to tour on Wednesday and not 1. And then I'm working like overtime, trying to go above and beyond to make sure that I get hired, right? So after Wednesday showing, I want to solidify myself as their agent so they don't go looking around other places. Like this guy may not have all the experience that some of these other lake folks have, but damn, he's a hustler. And that's, That's what I need. That's good enough. I don't know. Alex, you doing okay? You're not blinking very much. You all right?
I don't know, right?
Back of the head and say blink.
Anything? Anybody got any thoughts? Any closing thoughts before we go? All right. See y'all next week.